Remember to simplify rational expressions just like with numbers. 2 steps: factor, cancel. Part A, this factors in the numerator as x minus 3, x plus 2. Downstairs factors as x minus 5, x plus 2. Remember, multiplication is commutative. Does not matter what order you write them in, as long as it's a product or a sum. Notice they have a common factor of x plus 2, so those would cancel. And after canceling, we're only left with an x minus 3. And downstairs, we're left with an x minus 5. Since that's one factor upstairs and down, I do not need to put parentheses around it. So the first one reduces down to x minus 3 over x minus 5. In part B, it doesn't look like anything cancels. Remember, in order to cancel in a fraction, the numerator and denominator must both be written as a product. Here we have subtractions, which is not a multiplication, so we can't cancel the x's and we can't cancel the 7's. Instead, what we can do is we could factor out a negative 1 from either the numerator or denominator. If you factor out a negative 1 from a subtraction, what that does is it switches the order of the subtraction. Again, we could have factored that from the numerator or denominator. If you don't see that right away, that's fine. If you were to distribute that negative 1 back through, that would give you negative x. This would give you positive 7. Well, negative x, positive 7 is the same thing as 7 minus x. So it does not matter how you do it. When you factor it out, you can switch those terms. Well, now that they have a common term of x minus 7, then x minus 7's cancel. Remember, when something cancels completely, there's a 1 left over. So in the numerator, we have a 1. Downstairs, we have a negative 1. So overall, that makes negative 1. So part B simplifies to be negative 1. And then in part C, we have some special forms. The numerator is a sum of cubes. So a plus b times a squared minus ab plus b squared over, the denominator is a difference of squares, a plus b, a minus b. By design, the x plus 3's cancel, and we are left with that trinomial x squared minus 3x plus 9 all over x minus 3. Do not cancel any further. For instance, you can't cancel this 9 and this 3. Because why? Because the numerator and denominator have sums and differences. You can only cancel if it's a product. So 2 steps: factor, cancel. Part D, let's factor. In the numerator, that would factor as a plus 3b times a minus 2b. Downstairs, we would have a plus b and a plus 5b. Since there are no common factors in the numerator and denominator, then the original fraction in black there is already considered reduced. We did all that work for fun. Part E. The numerator, x cubed, is technically already factored. There's nothing to pull out there. Denominator, we can pull out an x to the 4th. So if we pull out an x to the 4th, we are left with 2 minus 7x cubed. Be careful here. We have 3 x's upstairs, technically. We have 4 downstairs. So we lose all 3 upstairs. So remember, when everything cancels, there's a 1 left over. We lose 3 out of the 4, meaning 1 left over downstairs. So we are left with 1 over x times the quantity 2 minus 7x cubed. Now, if you want to distribute that x back through, you totally can. Completely up to you. So either of these last two are acceptable answers.